Hi there everyone, my name is Christian Eschbach, and welcome to Confessions of a Domestic Engineer, The Doors Rap Party. Alright, if you are one of my regular viewers, you know that this is my wrap-up for The Doors. I have covered every album except for one from The Doors for my reviews. The one album I have not covered is An American Prayer, released November 27th, 1978. A collection of Jim Morrison doing spoken word, and The Doors later recorded music over top of it. I did not cover that album because it's a Doors album, but it's a little bit different. It's more like a Jim Morrison album featuring The Doors. So I didn't want to do that. Plus, getting my hands on it's not exactly simple. Every date that I give as an album release going from here is going to be based off of the details I found on Wikipedia, so pardon me if the dates I give are wrong or they vary from area to area, okay, because that can happen. I'm assuming most of these dates are the US original release dates. Let's start with doing these albums in the order that I like them, and we're going to go from my least favorite album to my most favorite album. Starting off with my least favorite album, and this is including the two post Jim Morrison albums as well, okay? So, my least favorite album is Morrison Hotel. There is one song, just one song off of Morrison Hotel that I enjoy in the slightest, and that is Roadhouse Blues. That's it. Only song off there I enjoy in the slightest bit, and the rest of the album I just consider kind of an album, sort of. You know, you collect it if you're a if you're a Doors completionist, a hardcore fan. But definitely not an album I would ever be interested in listening to more than once in a blue moon. Morrison Hotel was released February 9th, 1970. One thing I gotta say about The Doors as I go here is, considering the first album was released in 1967, and the last album was released in 71, and I believe it was released just before or just after Jim died. I'd have to go back and double check. I don't remember. That's what details are up here for. But, you know, they went from basically first album January 4th of 67 to LA Woman being the last album with Jim, while he was still alive, being recorded April 19th, 1971. And there were 6 albums done in that time. The first post-Jim Morrison album, Other Voices, was done in October of 71. And then Full Circle was July of 72. I'll get into that in a second. But when you look at how many albums they released in that time, so you're basically looking at 8 studio albums that were recorded over the course of 5 years. Clearly the band got burnt out. You can see why what happened with Jim. I mean, that was a recipe for burnout. Plus you put touring on top of that stuff. It's crazy. One thing I always found interesting with The Doors is the lack of touring they did for the number of albums they released. They were definitely back in the day when albums were the big push. Okay, so Morrison Hotel, February 9th, 1970, my least favorite of all the Doors albums. So that would be number 8. Number 7 would be Full Circle. Now, I am counting that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. So Full Circle is coming in at number 7. That was July 17th, 1972. Full Circle was the second album without Jim Morrison. My biggest issue with the album is the Mosquito and the Peking King and the New York Queen. Both are rather, even for the time being, seem like rather racist songs to me. Not a fan of those two songs. Musically, this album is great. Vocally, the Doors, after Jim left, really should have found a proper full-time vocalist. I think it would have helped them out much better. I think Full Circle and Other Voices could have been better albums if the members of the band didn't try and fill in for Jim. My views. And speaking of Other Voices, that's number 6, October 18th, 1971. So, you know, less than a year after Jim's gone, they release an album of songs. Now, based on the way... Now, when you go from Other Voices to Full Circle, Other Voices definitely sounds like a Doors album still. You know, musically, it totally sounds like a Doors album, whereas Full Circle sounds like the band really exploring other music and taking a lot more influences from other places. Other Voices, you can definitely hear hints of Santana in there, Grateful Dead in there, Iron Butterfly in there. Full Circle, those bands definitely pop out a lot more, and there's even a little maybe Jethro Tull in there as well, which I will get to when I start talking about songs. After Other Voices, we go to The Soft Parade, released July 21st, 1969. The Soft Parade is one of those albums that you like listening to the album. It's a great album to go through and to listen to and really enjoy and have a good time with. But there are very few standout individual tracks that make you really go, oh, I love that song. Oh, I love that song. Oh, I love that song. There's a few songs on there that are really cool. And like the song The Soft Parade itself is a really cool song. I really dig it. But there's basically like no song on the album that I would consider a top 10 song, which I'm going to get into. Then we go to Strange Days. Strange Days is a really good album. I really enjoy Strange Days. There are a lot of good tracks on there. Once again, though, Strange Days is a great album. Not a lot of really... Like, there's definitely some good greatest hits tracks on there. Maybe one or two tracks I would definitely put on a top 10 list, but not clear-cut, poppin', huge standout songs that I absolutely have to have and listen to. After Strange Days, we get into the first album, The Doors. Now, this album basically reads like a greatest hits album, and it is loaded with every, you know, like this album could basically be a lot of people's top 10 list on its own, okay? I think it's a great album, but the reason why I have this at number 3 on my list is, as great of an album as it is, are we not all tired of Light My Fire at this point? I love Break On Through, and we're going to talk about Break On Through as well shortly. I love Break On Through, but there's a small degree where I know a lot of people that just don't ever want to hear the song again. The End, another amazing classic from The Doors. A lot of people are not into. Me, I think it's a great song. But there's a lot of tracks on this album that I've heard so many times I just really don't feel the need to listen to as much anymore. So that's the only reason why I put this down as far as I do on the list. Realistically, the only song on the entire album I'm not into is Soul Kitchen. And I Look at You. I don't mind Soul Kitchen. Sorry, when I did my review, I did talk favorably. I like Soul Kitchen. It's a good, fun song, but it's not a huge one for me. And I Looked at You is the one song on this album I just don't listen to at all, really, honestly. So that's why this is down as far as it is. After that, we get into Waiting for the Sun. I dig Waiting for the Sun. I don't think there's a bad song on the entire album. There might not be a bunch of what I put on my top 10 list. But, I mean, we're talking about Hello, I Love You, Love Street, Not to Touch the Earth, Unknown Soldier, 5 to 1, Spanish Caravan. Like, there's a bunch of great songs on this album, and you really can't complain about it at all. I know a few people that, not huge fans of the album, or would definitely be surprised that I had put it above the Doors album. I only put it above the self-titled debut album because I'm burnt out on the self-titled debut album. I still enjoy listening to Waiting for the Sun. And with me having the one with all the bonus tracks on it, the bonus tracks really help. I really enjoy those as well. Waiting for the Sun was July 3rd, 1968. And my favorite Doors album is L.A. Woman. April 19th, 1971, last album released, or at least recorded while Jim Morrison was still alive. Once again, I got to double check whether or not it was released before he passed away or if it was released just after he passed away. I can't remember. There are more songs on this album I enjoy listening to than any other album. Even what would be the true hardcore album cuts, I really get into and dig. Like, I dig The Changeling. I would never put it on a top 10 list, but I dig The Changeling big time. I really dig The Wasp, Texas Radio, and The Big Beat. Not a top 10 song, but I love it. I'd put it on anything. Not to mention, you got, the title track, L.A. Woman. Come on, great song. 7 minutes, 50 seconds, and it just feels like this great masterpiece of music. And Riders on the Storm, again, 7 minutes 14 seconds, great masterpiece of music, man. Yeah, just those two songs alone would almost be enough for me to say this is my favorite album. But then you put everything else in there, and it is fantastic. Alright, and that's my number one of those. Now, with my top 10 list, and this is my top 10 favorite Doors songs. And I tried to be, not even necessarily my top 10 favorite Doors songs, but if I'm going to pick 10 songs from the Doors, and just 10 songs, that I want to listen to, and I'm going to put on a mixtape, and I'm going to be happy with, and I'm going to enjoy myself listening to, this is going to be those songs. And I did this in order of which album they were released off of. I did not do this in my order of favorites or what order I would like them in. I don't even want to try and go through and figure that out. This way was just easier. So, from the Doors album, we've got Break On Through and 20th Century Fox. Two songs I absolutely still love listening to. I contemplated putting Alabama Song in there instead of 20th Century Fox, but I'd rather listen to 20th Century Fox than Alabama Song, just because I love that. Boom, boom, 20th Century Fox. She's a 20th Century Fox. I love that part. It's a great part. Both songs I still enjoy listening to. I still fully get into, and they really, honestly, just... they're great songs. Good fun. Break On Through is just a great song the whole way around, instrumentally, vocally, whatnot. 20th Century Fox is just a really fun song. People Are Strange album, the Strange Days album. I've got People Are Strange. There's some other good songs on there, and I contemplated one or two other songs, but since I only wanted to make a list of 10, it was just People Are Strange. And I've got a weird enjoyment of this. Now, there's a video game I'm not sure if anybody on here watching this will be familiar with, called Leisure Suit Larry and the Land of the Lounge Lizards, I think was the name of the first one. Now, the computer-generated music at the beginning, I swear to God, reminds me nonstop of the riff from People Are Strange. The do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do, so I really do think that Leisure Suit Larry ripped off People Are Strange. But that's just me. I always thought that way. When we get to Waiting for the Sun, my two choices off of that album are The Unknown Soldier and 5 to 1. Both are greatest hit songs. Always make greatest hits. I really dig both of these songs. There are definitely, there's a variety of songs off Waiting for the Sun I could pick. And both of those I picked because Instrumentally, they're both very diverse. Lyrically, they're very poetic. I just really, the whole way around, get into the songs and really dig every part about them. And out of everything on the Waiting for the Sun album, those are the two tracks that really have the most replay value for me. Morrison Hotel. I really struggled with this one. I almost completely ignored Morrison Hotel. But can you really go without the Roadhouse Blues? I mean, really, can you go without Roadhouse Blues? It's a great song. It's so much fun. I've karaoke'd it, I don't know how many times even. It's a good, fun song to do. So I left it on there. And it was a real struggle because it came down to either Roadhouse Blues off of Morrison Hotel or Touch Me off of Soft Parade, and Touch Me lost. So Soft Parade has no representation on this list whatsoever. And one of the reasons why that happened is the LA Woman album has 3 songs on here that I just could not go without. You've got Love Her Madly, which is just a fantastic song. I absolutely love the song Love Her Madly. I think it's one of the Doors' best short, high-energy songs. Because when you start putting in the longer songs, like, oh, I don't know, the next 2 songs on this list, LA Woman and Riders on the Storm, is Love Her Madly comparable to LA Woman or Riders on the Storm? No. Because those songs are fucking masterpieces. But Love Her Madly is absolutely a spectacular song. And as I've already said, you got LA Woman and Riders of the Storm are the next 2 tracks on here. I know there's going to be people out there that are going to say they're kind of tired of LA Woman and Riders on the Storm, but I can't be. Much like Roadhouse Blues, those are also 2 songs that I have karaoke'd the hell out of. I have never had the privilege of getting to play any Doors songs live in a band, because one band member I have played with continuously, my buddy Drew, I've played with continuously for over 2 decades now, not a fan of the Doors. Really not a fan of the Doors. And because of that, never played any Doors songs live. Out of all the songs I have said so far, I got one more song to get to still. Out of all the songs I've said so far, I would honestly think Love Her Madly would be a great song to do. I would love to do 20th Century Fox. LA Woman would be a great song to do, and so would Riders of the Storm. The rest of them, 5 to 1, even unknown. I mean, every song I put on this list is a song I would probably honestly want to play live. Now, the very last song on here is going to surprise a lot of people, because it's off of one of the non-Jim Morrison albums. I put The Piano Bird from the Full Circle album on here. And the reason why I put that one on here is this song is this really... I didn't get into it in as much detail as I probably should have when I did the review for it. But this song has got this great kind of almost loungy kind of vibe to it. But there's a lot of flute in it. I didn't read who the flautist was. But the first time I heard this song, and every time I've listened to it since, it really makes me think of Jethro Tull. And I enjoy me some Jethro Tull. So I really dig The Piano Bird. And compared to everything else, it's really kind of different. So it would throw that odd song into the mix. Those are my top 10 songs. I've covered my order for the albums at this point. This is my Doors recap. This is how I'm going to finish off the Doors. I might get around to doing an American Prayer if I ever get my hands on it. It's not high on my list. At the end of the day, I highly recommend you got to get yourself some Doors. Everybody should own the first Doors album. Even though it's number 3 on my list, out of all the albums on here, it is the one album that everybody should absolutely own and have. My 3 should be on everybody's number 1 Doors list to buy, though. LA Woman should be number 2 on everybody's Doors list to buy. My number 1 album. And then after that, you got Waiting for the Sun, which should be number 3 for everybody to buy, but is number 2 on my list. What can I say? That's everything I'm going to say about the Doors, other than, much love, great music. Thank you, gentlemen. Oh, comment section. Let's do that first. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. I'd like to know what your top 10 is. Give me your top 10. What you think are the top 10 songs you absolutely have to have. If you were put together a mixtape, or you got an MP3 player that for some weird reason can only hold 10 songs and time limit doesn't matter, tell me what are your 10 songs. Put it in the list. I really want to know what 10 songs from the Doors get you off the most and that you have to have. You cannot live without those 10 songs from the Doors. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. There's a link to Patreon. Peace. Love. Take care. Break on through to the other side.